Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees, the podcast. Well, as I promised you, I guess we'll look into the CC Sabathia Hall of Fame case. I promised you way back, I don't know whether it was here on the audio podcast or on the YouTube episode, that we're to get into it. Now, I did cover it in the most recent YouTube episode, so if you want to see me say this versus to only hear me say this, then you go check out the latest YouTube episode and I kind of get into the Hall of Fame case for CC Sabathia. But if not, if you want to hear it right now, and I think you should stick around and hear it, we'll go into it. So before we get started, make sure you subscribe to this podcast, Section 420 Talkin Yankees, the podcast. Again, not only get current news for the Yankees and baseball, but cool stuff like this. Whether it's baseball history, baseball stories, Hall of Fame talk, get it here at Section 420 Talkin Yankees, the podcast. And as I mentioned before, there is the YouTube version of the show. If you haven't done it already, go search after and subscribe there. So, we have a Hall of Fame class coming up. And again, as Yankee fans, probably the two that will pique our interest a little bit, well, probably more than a little bit, would be CC Sabathia and Ichiro. Now, Ichiro, I know he spent a couple of seasons as a Yankee, and but we all know what he is. He's a Seattle Mariner. And with that in mind, and I don't mind that, he's a no doubt about it, first ballot Hall of Famer. He might even get 100% of the vote, unless he gets one like holdout, like what happened with Derek Jeter there. But obviously, I'll just go over his numbers really quickly because it's just Ichiro's a no doubt about it, first ballot Hall of Famer. Only this is a shame, but imagine if he came to the States a little sooner with the type of numbers he would have put up. But even starting at age 27, incredible career. So 2001, he broke in with the Mariners. Not only was he the Rookie of the Year, but also the American League MVP, two-time batting champion, 10-time Gold Glover, and of course we knew he had a cannon of an arm, 10-time All-Star, 3-time Silver Slugger, and a 19-year career in the majors, lifetime batting average of .311. So, you played 19 seasons in the majors and you hit over 300 in this day and age, especially, you may even think .311 is, a little bit low. Now guys, are barely hitting .240 in these days, somewhat in this day and age of baseball. So the fact that he hit .311 and had over 3,000 hits with 3,089. You hit over 3,000 hits. That's like sort of hitting, probably more valuable than hitting over 500 home runs this day. A .311 lifetime batting average and 3,000 plus hits. That's just signed, sealed, delivered. Ichiro is a Hall of Famer. And again, if he doesn't get 100% of the vote, I'd be shocked. He might get one or two holdouts, but he's definitely going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. But we also got to look at CC Sabathia, who you could say he's one of the greats of this game, of one of the great pitchers of his era, yeah. But again, some of his numbers, make it maybe questionable whether he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer or not. I think he gets in eventually, but again, I think it might be a little turbulent in the first year or two, but we'll get into all his numbers and I'm making the argument that he really should, just based on who's been getting let in lately. And if you look at last season's class of Todd Helton, Joe Mauer, and Adrian Beltre, again, all very, 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 very good players. Would you say they're Hall of Famers? You can, but I think it's a little soft, a little bit. So if you're going to let those guys in, I think there's a case for CC Sabathia. So give you the backdrop. Now, first of all, as we all know, we have the contemporary committee, and now those are basically, it's a mishmash of like former players and former umpires and some baseball writers and executives and stuff like that, who basically able to vote players and coaches and managers and personalities around baseball in after they, I guess, weren't able to go into traditional ways. So the one they picked for this year is Jim Leyland, the former Pittsburgh Pirate and Detroit manager there. So he's definitely in. So 100% Jim Leyland is in. And as I mentioned before, Ichiro's definitely going to be in with those numbers. It'd be crazy. Now, last season, Billy Wagner came up just a little bit short at 73.8%. Now, in order to get voted in and make it in, the Baseball Writers Association, you have to get 75% of their vote. So Wagner just a little bit short, just about 74. Very most likely they give him, he probably gets it the next year, so he'll probably be in. So you're looking at definitely Ichiro, definitely Jim Leyland, because he's already automatically in with the temporary committee, and probably Billy Wagner. And that just kind of leaves CC Sabathia. And there's a few others interesting cases you can make there with Felix Hernandez, who, again, didn't really have a long career, but of course, when he was at his best, he was untouchable, so he's going to be interesting. But again, want to keep the focus here on CC Sabathia. Now, the baseball writers have till December 31st, so the end of this month, to put in their vote. It has to be postmarked December 31st, and the announcement will be made on January 23rd. Now, for Sabathia, look back, broke into the league just the same year as Ichiro in 2001, and he had a 17-5 record. And for a rookie, normally if you go 17-5, in normal cases, kind of what the Yankees had with Luis Heel, you would normally be the American League Rookie of the Year. But CC Sabathia had the bad luck of Ichiro making his debut in the States at the same year and just having an incredible MVP type season. So not only did Ichiro get the MVP, as I mentioned, but also the Rookie of the Year. That should have went to CC Sabathia probably, but unfortunately, again, they all broke in the same year. And again, Ichiro's season was just so incredible, it outshined CC Sabathia's 17-5 record when he broke in with the Cleveland, at the time, Indians. But if I look back at his entire career, 6-time All-Star, was the 2007 Cy Young Award winner. So, when you grade starting pitchers to get into the Hall of Fame, it's not a must, but at least one Cy Young really helps your case. Now, again, Mike Mussina never got it, and I was one before Mussina got in, was championing for him because I think there was so many other stats that made him so close and should have put him over the line. Now, he didn't have the Cy Young there, but CC does. So if you're going to put Mussina in, then you kind of have to say, hey, you got to go make a good case there for Sabathia, and when you include his other numbers. Did win the World Series with the Yankees in 2009. I don't know how much really the baseball writers put that into perspective, but if you want to look at his postseason, what he did with the Yankees that season, 2009, that run, as well as what he did before that with the Brewers. Remember, he single-handedly tried to will that team in, literally going on 2 days rest. And, of course, that was the time in the National League when pitchers hitting home runs. I mean, the guy did literally everything humanly possible to get that Brewers team as far as he did. I mean, it was quite incredible. So, I think you do have to look at the postseason as something you grade him on, even though it's not fair. Some pitchers make the postseason, some don't. But when CC Sabathia had some opportunities there, especially 2009 and 2008, he was top-notch for those respective organizations. Now, his career record, 251 wins over 161 losses, so that's 90 games over 500. Now, typically, if you go 100 games over 500 like Mike Mussina, you're a bit of a shoo-in. Sabathia a little less than that. But also, you got to look at some other factors now. Sabathia, kind of pitching through a transitional period. Even though Sabathia would say he's like an old school style pitcher, we have the pitch counts, we have the babying of the pitches. So you're not going to really see the 300 game winners anymore. I mean, Tom Glavine might be one of the last. It's a different day and age. So the fact that he got to 251 and kind of in somewhat modern times. So let's say if Sabathia pitched in the 70s and 80s, he would probably have the 300 wins. But he's pitching at a different age where, again, they baby the pitches. You have these bullpen specialists in this bullpen. They always want to go to the bullpen right away. It's much harder for players to get to 300 wins because they don't have as much opportunities as starting pitchers used to have 2 or 3 decades ago. So can't hold that against him. And also his career ERA, which hurts him a little bit, 3.74, so it's a little bit on the high side, but and it's kind of the case I made in the YouTube episode, and I made this case with Mike Mussina. Mussina had a couple seasons there, like 2005, 2006, 2007, where he was dealing with some injuries, some groin injuries, and going through some growing pains, and so Sabathia had that. Man, he came out strong with the Yankees, and again, first 3 or 4 seasons were incredible, but did have a little bit of a downturn. Remember, he took the weight off. He was dealing with, he had some knee problems. So in 2013, the ERA ballooned up to 4.78. 2014, 5.28. And then in 2015, 4.73. So you have one ERA over 5 and then 2 approaching 5. So you're going to fault him for 3 seasons where the ERA was a little bit high like that. So you take those 3 away, then his career ERA of 3.74 is probably significantly lower. I know your numbers are your numbers, but you're going to keep the guy out of the Hall of Fame over 3 seasons where, even though he had a very long 19-year career, same as Ichiro, it just happened 3 of those seasons was this much higher than his normal average there. So I don't think it's fair to penalize him on that one. Now, he did win, and again, in addition to the Cy Young, I think how many multiple 20-plus game seasons you have, I think also helps. Now, he only did it once, and that was in 2010 with the Yankees. He won 21 games. But he did have 3 seasons where he won 19 games. So kind of same thing, all right. So he was right there. I mean, imagine you just take 1 win or 1 loss here or there in a long season. I mean, he could very easily have 4 seasons with at least 20 wins there. So again, a 19-year career, you're going to penalize him because 3 of those seasons, he only ended up at 19 and get to 20. I mean, the quality's still there. So I don't think it's fair to hold him back for that. So, yes, the ERA is a little high, but that's because of 3 seasons. And it does have one 20-game win season and very easily could have 3 more there. So, all that being said, I think you look at the pitchers who make the Hall of Fame, the body of work. This is a guy I think should be in the Hall of Fame. Yes, he's one of the great pitchers of the generation he pitched in. He has a World Series. He has a Cy Young. He won 20 games more than once. Could have won it 4 times. And if you look at his strikeouts also, over 3,000 strikeouts with 3,093. And that's in third place amongst lefties, only behind Randy Johnson, Steve Carlton, who are 2 of them are Hall of Famers. So this guy's right up there in their nose. So, World Series champion, Cy Young Award winner, multiple-time All-Star. And again, one of the better pitchers of the generation pitching. So, and the fact that if you're going to put in people like Adrian Beltre, who, yes, he technically got the 500 home runs, but do you say he's one of the greats of the game? I don't know. Or someone like Todd Helton, who, very dangerous slugger, put up some great numbers, but in Colorado, I mean, you're going to say he's a surefire Hall of Famer? It's a little soft on that regard. So if those are the guys you're going to put in, and again, I made the case for Mussina, you're going to put Mike Mussina in. I think Sabathia, at their best, who's better? Maybe Mussina might have been better at his best than Sabathia at his best. Who knows? Good judge apples and oranges there. But if Mussina's in, CC Sabathia should be in as well. So I would expect him to be in. Will he get the first ballot? Probably not. Maybe it might take a year, 2 or 3. But you can't really deny him. This were those numbers there. Definitely one of the better starting pitchers of this generation, and kind of do it through a transitional period. So his 251 wins I think is good enough. Like if he would have pitched 20, 30 years ago, he probably would have reached the 300 wins there. And again, had a long distinguished career with the Yankees, and just had a little bit of a turbulent period there between 2013 and 2015. But he corrected himself. Again, 2015, remember, he had to actually leave the team as they were on their way to the playoffs against Houston. That was that one-game showdown at Yankee Stadium. Again, had some personal demons, some substance problems there where he had to leave the team and check on the rehabs. I guess he got over those demons and reinvented himself, came back strong in 2016. 2017, pitching the Yankees into the playoffs against his old team, the Cleveland Indians, getting the Yankees past that first divisional round and then going facing Houston, and then throwing his last pitch for the Yankees in a postseason game against the 2019 Houston Astros. That game, remember, they brought Sabathia out of the bullpen, and literally his arm fell off just warming up there, and he had to walk off there. So the guy gave you everything. Literally, he gave you his last pitch left in his arm. In there, and so I think he's very well deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. And if he doesn't get in the first year, I definitely will expect it in the second. And I mentioned before, Ichiro, definitely a shoe in there, no doubt about it. And Jim Leland will be voted in. And probably mainly what he did, his body of work with the Detroit Tigers. Even though a couple of those seasons he bounced the Yankees out, but nevertheless one of the great managers of the game in this day and age. So that's the episode. CC Sabathia going in the Hall of Fame. Does he get the Yankee hat? Does he go with the Cleveland Indian hat? I would say probably the Yankee. I mean, you see him more as a Yankee than a Cleveland Indian. I know maybe he had his better stuff when he was a Cleveland Indian, perhaps. I don't know. I mean, they signed the big contract with the Yankees in 2009, but World Series champion with the Yankee. And he probably had a better 2010 season than he did his 2009 season. But unfortunately, that Yankee team that year, they fell short to Texas Rangers because Texas Rangers ended up getting Cliff Lee and not the Yankees. Otherwise, probably the Yankees would have repeated there. And even after he retired, you see him more, with the Yankee organization, with the Yankee hat on, doing the Yankee events like that. So I think once in a while he goes back to Cleveland for stuff, but he's more of a New York Yankee. So if he does get voted in, I would very well expect him to see him having the Yankee hat on. Catch you next time.